Welcome to the channel. So I've been wheeling for about 12-13 years now, and I've probably been through 7-8 pairs of skids, including stock skids. With my Jeep Wrangler, I had for a good year and a half probably gas tank stock skid, and eventually I molded it into a 13-gallon gas tank versus the 18 or 19-gallon gas tank that comes from the factory. It still worked. When I got my 4Runner about 2 years ago, I got a steel skid plates. I knew I was going to be a little bit hard on her. And then my wife got a 4Runner a couple of months ago, and we wanted to keep it lightweight. I didn't want to do heavy modifications on the drivetrain, and she uses it as a daily driver to go to work. So we wanted to keep it as light as possible. Against my better judgment, after reading all the things on the forum that I've read, we decided to get aluminum skid plates. And the things on the forums, I'll just straight up address them now, that kind of convinced me as well is, aluminum skid plates will work fine on easy rock trails. They can take easy beatings. Another good one was, they'll last forever because they don't rust. But they don't mention that, after a couple of beatings, you're going to be replacing them anyways. Biggest arguments I've seen was, hey, Baja racers use these kits. Well, Baja racers aren't on rocks, but more importantly than that, first of all, they're on larger tires. They're also throwing out their skids after every race, most likely, and putting on new ones. Jeeps use them, whatever. Yeah, I mean, like I have a Jeep on 40s right now, and I'm almost never on the skids, to be honest with you. And the reason why I'm almost never on the skids is because I'm on 40-inch tires. So I don't really, I could get away with aluminum skids there. Overlanders have a different need. Most of us are longer wheelbase, pickup trucks, 4Runners, whatever. They're long wheelbases. And we're not on 40-inch tires. We're on, 33, 34, 35-inch tires, maybe even stock tires. Therefore, we're doing trails where we're most likely going to be on our bellies, even just tapping our bellies, way more often. And therefore, we're actually using the skids, and we need skids more than those guys do on the Jeeps. So, given all that information, I went out on a trip. I got my aluminum skid plates. I went out on a trip to Coyote Flats. Easy trail, honestly. Spent 2 days there. We did a couple of little offshoots, but nothing that I didn't feel comfortable doing. And babying these skids, and it'd be fine. None of the rocks were more than 1 or 2 inches taller than the skids. I was on stock tires and stock suspension at the time, so I had very little clearance. But I babied these things, or as much as I baby things, which it's probably different than most people. But this is what I came home with. You'll see this weld is gone. Most of the welds are gone actually, but this weld is gone, and that's why, by being gone on both sides, the whole thing is starting to shift. This weld is gone. It's completely separated. Somehow that one survived. And then here, you'll see this weld is gone. This weld is starting to go. And this weld is starting to go. So, that's the issue that I'm seeing with aluminum. I'm not sure if that's all aluminum or just RCI. My hunch is aluminum welds aren't going to be as strong as steel. So the other thing is, this is how steel slides over. It's pretty smooth. You don't really lose too much steel when you go over rocks, and it kind of just slides right over. With this stuff, you see all this metal just coming right off, and what that means is, first of all, you're losing aluminum everywhere, but second of all, it's not smoothly sliding over. It's kind of keeping you from going over the rock in a smooth manner by eating through the aluminum. Again, brand new skid, steel, and this is what the aluminum skid looks like, and it is very, very deformed. So this is a brand new RCI skid, And this is the one that I took out on a 2-day trail without difficult abuse. And the reason why I put the level there is the whole thing actually got deformed and dropped a good 3/4 of an inch. So I called RCI and I explained my situation and that I am unhappy with the quality of these things or the way they're advertised. And they pretty much told me they're not advertised to be hit on rocks and they shouldn't be used on rocks or take a hitting at all, pretty much. Thank you. And but they're right. The bottom line is these things are made for, for overlanders. The only applications these things really apply for are the aluminum skids is fire roads. If you're doing paved roads and you're doing fire roads and you're not gonna be, increasing your capabilities as far as, difficulty of trails, you're fine. Aluminum skids will work for you. But if you decide to get off the fire roads and do a trail that is, labeled easy, might be a little bit more difficult than you think it is, you come home with this. So these are for emergency use only in reality. The other thing that you need to consider is, hey, you might be okay overpaying a lot for aluminum and then replacing it every couple of months or a year just to save 20, 30 pounds of weight. So that's on you, but just things to consider. So I did a lot of research on multiple companies and their skid systems and weights and so on. And basically, most steel skids are going to be 3/16. Most aluminum is going to be 1/4 inch. Depending on your vehicle and how big it is, your skid system on steel is probably going to be between 150 pounds to 220 pounds, including a gas tank skid, which most people don't get, honestly. And your aluminum is going to be about 35% lighter. And the reason why it's 35% is because they're probably still going to use steel brackets somewhere, a steel cross member, whatever. So worst case scenario, you're talking about saving 70 pounds with aluminum over steel. Most likely it's closer to 50 pounds. And that's a lot of weight, don't get me wrong. I'm very concerned about weight on my vehicle because I'm ridiculously heavy. However, it's not the worst place to have this weight. It's not affecting your center of gravity. It might even be helping it out a little bit, to be honest with you. And it's a cost factor. Aluminum is going to be way more expensive. You're most likely going to be replacing your aluminum way more often. So, that 70 pounds can be saved elsewhere, in my personal opinion. That's something else to consider. Maybe get a smaller and lighter rooftop tent or something. Next thing we could discuss is the happy medium that I thought about, and I've seen only a few companies offer, but it's a good option. 1/4 inch steel. 1/4 inch steel won't save you as much as aluminum, but it'll save you somewhere in the middle. It'll save you probably 20%, not 35% of weight. But it's going to last longer. It's going to be stronger in reality because it's not going to crack. It's going to bend. And that's a big difference. Because I've used 1/4 inch steel a lot just on my factory skid plates, and it'll hold for a while. It'll just keep bending. That's something else to consider, honestly. So this is for those that want some real numbers. If this isn't of interest to you, skip forward about 2 minutes to learn what to look for when you're choosing skid plates. Couldn't really cover all the skid plate manufacturers, so I just chose the most popular ones. And we're going to focus on the 5th Gen Forerunners and the Tacomas in these slides. I also want to give a special mention to Bud Built. They make a 1/8 steel skid, which is on this chart. But in general, this list, if you really look at it, you're going to see that there's going to be about a 50-pound difference without a gas tank skid for your skid system, from each manufacturer. And what I also found interesting here that, I wish I kind of knew before, to be honest with you, is that, RCI skids, the steel ones, they lasted me for 2 years. I think they're going to last me for a very long time. They might not have the best gussets, but it's, 3/8 steel, which is going to last plenty. So those are, for example, 118 pounds, and then you're looking at the heavier aluminum ones because they're properly strategically gusseted, and those are around 90 pounds. So it's less than a 30-pound difference in reality to, go for a mid-range steel skid versus a super high-end aluminum one. That's something I would take into consideration as well. So this next slide is going to be for adding a gas tank. So this is total weight with a gas tank system Moore doesn't make gas tanks for 4Runners. Hefty Fab Works, I couldn't find any information on their gas tank skid weight online anywhere. CBI, just so you know, was also difficult to find. The numbers on their website seem to be much higher than actual numbers. So I gathered the CBI numbers off various forums and user experiences. Here you're going to see a closer to a 75-pound difference, but more importantly, there's something else to consider here. A 4Runner gas tank skid is from the factory is not bad. I have one on my rig and it's taken a bunch of hits, and it's steel, so it's going to withstand a decent amount of abuse. And if you're not really hardcore wheeling, it's something to consider, keeping the stock skid plate for the gas tank and upgrading only the other skid systems. So in the next slides here, you're going to see a third gen Tacoma with and without gas tank skids. You're going to see kind of similar results. There is a bigger weight difference, to be honest with you, aluminum versus skid, and I'm assuming that's because they're not using a steel cross member for the Tacoma or other steel reinforcement parts as much. But if you really look at this, I mean, the high-end Hefty Fab Works aluminum versus a mid-range, Shockworks versus RCI, again, the difference is still about 30 pounds. So that's something to consider. For the gas tank version, you're kind of going to see results that are going to be about 70 plus pounds difference. The problem really here is you're not going to get to, there aren't too many manufacturers that are making aluminum gas tank skids for your Tacoma anyways. But these are some exact numbers that you could reference when you're making your decision. So what else should you be looking for when you are looking for skid systems? And the first thing, in my opinion, is airflow. When I got this RCI skid plate about 2 years ago, it was flat here. It was all steel. And when I did that and I installed it, I noticed that my tranny temps went up. Substantially went up, actually. So I ended up drilling a bunch of holes here, and that helped out a lot. That actually dropped my tranny temp down by about 10-15 degrees, believe it or not. So I realized that airflow is important. I also drilled, this is the tranny skid. I also drilled a bunch of holes here. And my theory was that it would help hot air dissipate when I am kind of standing still or on the trail. Not sure if it actually worked or not, but I did it. That's important. Now the newer RCI skid that I got recently, it already has these holes. I didn't tell them to make the holes, but I guess they realized it. And it has holes here all over the system in the center, so it actually has much better airflow control, which is great because the first skid system had no airflow control. The other thing you should be really looking for is how the bolts mount. And what's important is that there's something that protects the bolts. And RCI actually does a good job with that. Other companies do too, but that's just something to consider because I've had skids where I didn't have protection for my bolts, and when it was time to take the skids off, I had to break out the welder, and that's how I'd have to weld the bolts to get them off. And again, weight. So what I noticed during this research, actually, and I was a little bit surprised, is for the same platform, same type of skid system, pretty much looks like it's close to the same size. The weight difference between manufacturers for steel, for example, could be about 15-20 pounds. And maybe that's because they're using better gussets, better brackets, I don't know, but that's just something to consider for yourself as well. I'm not going to sit here and recommend a brand to you because I haven't tested them all. A lot of the brands that I saw online, they fit all the criteria that we discussed. And I think a lot of it right now especially for me would be dependent on the lead times, to be honest with you. Depending on how fast you want to get out on the trails, because some of these lead times are kind of getting a little ridiculous. I would give a special mention to two companies, and that's just because they're unique. Bud Built. When I was doing this research, I noticed that Bud Built, at least for the 4Runner platform, I'm not sure about anything else, has 1/8 steel skid plates under their Overlander package. That's something I'd consider. If you really want something a little bit less weight, I'd stick to personally I'm sticking to 3/16, but 1/8 may work right for your application. The other company I would recommend, or not recommend, I just want to give a special mention to, is Hefty Fab Works. They make aluminum skids for foreigners too. However, I spent some time on their website and they do really good welds, and they gusseted the hell out of it. So almost everybody that you're going to be buying skids from, they're not gusseting them like crazy. They're not, they're just, it's a flat plate with a couple of bends. Maybe if you're lucky, 1 or 2 gussets somewhere strategically placed. They did a great job with their aluminum skid plates gusseting it. So would I take them out? I mean, after my experience with this, probably not. But if you're gonna go aluminum, that's definitely the place I would go to. As far as RCI, since all 3 of these are RCI, I'll just tell you straight up. First of all, I'm not sponsored in any way by them. I got this skid plate. This was steel. I was happy with the results. It's lasted for 2 years. It's probably going to last for a very, very long time. And because of that, I went and got their aluminum. And I was very unhappy with the result. And then when I called them up and, had this discussion with them, I'm like, listen, take the aluminum back, give me some kind of discount, something. I don't know. I want a little bit of a discount at least, and because I knew I was going to trash this and I needed their steel. And they didn't give me anything. They just pretty much told me it's your problem. Shouldn't have used it on rocks. So the only reason I got the steel from them is honestly because of lead times. It was fast. I paid full price for this too. They left a bad taste in my mouth because of this whole situation. And they could have given me at least a little bit of a break. So yeah, their skids, they hold up really well, but their customer service. So I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope this video helps you make a better decision on how to build out your platform. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all or one-brand-fits-all scenario here or anywhere. I started this YouTube channel because, and I'm not sponsored by anybody, I'm not looking for sponsors. I've been in the off-roading, overlanding community for over a decade. I've been on the forums for, on and off for a decade. And the new trend that I'm seeing is if you don't have something good to say, don't say it at all. And I want to help stop that trend, hopefully. Simply because I don't want to, I'm hoping you guys can learn from my mistakes. That's why I started my IG and my YouTube. And I make to date a lot of mistakes. And this is one of them. This is an experience. But I hope that people that are, spending their hard-earned money on products expecting them to last for a long time aren't making the same mistakes I am. And the only way that could be prevented is if we start being, something you don't like, something's crap. Don't be afraid to call it out either. So like my channel, don't like my channel, like me, don't like me, but go out, give honest reviews, give honest feedback about products. If you truly tested them to some extremes and you have things to compare them to, because the guy that just got his shocks or whatever and installed them and then drove it up and down the driveway screaming that his stuff is the best in the world, that's an issue too, because you have nothing to compare it to, and then you're going to have somebody go out and make another financial mistake. But there is a happy medium somewhere here. I don't know where it is. Hopefully I'm in the right path to trying to find it. So share your reviews of products wherever, Thank you.